All right, let's just jump right into this explainer, because today we're taking a look at a game that literally redefined modern gaming. We're talking, of course, about Dark Souls. Released back in 2011 by From Software and directed by the legendary Hidetaka Miyazaki, this action RPG is easily one of the most punishing yet universally acclaimed franchises in history.
And honestly, this brutally funny quote from Rock Paper Shotgun pretty much hits the nail on the head. To a lot of people, Dark Souls is basically just a boss stamping on a human face. Forever. From the exact second you pick up the controller, this game is actively hostile. The enemies hit like absolute trucks, traps are everywhere, and the game explicitly refuses to hold your hand.
So that brings us to a pretty massive question, right? If it's really just endless face stamping, why on earth do millions of us voluntarily subject ourselves to this kind of punishment? How does a game with such a steep, unforgiving difficulty curve not just succeed, but get hailed by critics as one of the greatest video games ever made?
Well, let's start figuring that out in Section 1, the world and the lore.
Because to really get the appeal here, we have to talk about the incredibly deep, atmospheric universe you're thrown into. Long before your journey even begins, the world was just this stagnant place of gray crags and everlasting dragons. But then the first flame appeared, and it brought disparity, heat and cold, life and death. And within this flame, these foundational beings found incredibly powerful Lord Souls. Gwyn, the Witch of Izalith, Gravelord Nito, and the Furtive Pygmy. They use this newfound power to overthrow the dragons and kick off the Age of Fire. But, as with all fires, it eventually starts to fade. What's truly fascinating, though, is how the game defines your role in all this chaos. You're not some glorious chosen hero. You're put directly into the shoes of a hollow, a cursed undead marked by the dark sign. You start locked away in the Northern Undead Asylum, doomed to resurrect after every single death until you just eventually lose your mind. It's bleak. You are literally carrying the immense weight of a dying world on your shoulders. Moving on to Section 2, the mechanics of death. Let's look at the actual gameplay that makes this explainer's topic so legendary, specifically the core loop of death. In Dark Souls, killing enemies gives you souls. These are super important because they act as both your currency to buy items and your XP to level up. But when you die, and trust me, you will die, you drop every single one of them right where you fell, and you wake up back at your last checkpoint. If you can fight your way back to that bloodstain, you get them back. But if you die again before reaching them, boom, they are gone forever. It completely changes the stakes. Dying isn't a game over screen, it's a mandatory, high-stakes part of the learning process. Now, those checkpoints I just mentioned, those are the iconic bonfires. Director Hidetaka Miyazaki actually designed these specific spots to evoke this desperate sense of relief and comfort in the middle of a totally hostile world. Resting at one restores your health and your healing flasks, which is great, right? But here's the catch. It also respawns all those standard enemies you just painstakingly defeated. So the really crucial point about Miyazaki's whole philosophy here isn't just making the game hard, just for the sake of being hard. He designed it so you have the freedom to experiment. All that intense frustration, the repetition, the careful, slow learning of where every enemy is placed. It's all a setup. It's exactly what makes your eventual victory feel so incredibly sweet. The reward is never, ever just handed to you. It is definitively earned. Which perfectly leads us into Section 3, Dancing with Giant Monsters. Nowhere is this design philosophy more obvious than in these spectacular boss battles. I mean, almost every major boss pulls this totally nasty trick on you right when you think you finally have them figured out. Take Iudex Gundyr from Dark Souls 3, for example. You spend the entire first half of his health bar just learning the rhythm, dodging his massive glaive. And then, right at half health, no way, he suddenly erupts into this massive, deadly, abyssal slug. It completely throws the dynamic of the fight out the window and forces you to adapt on the fly. And then you have bosses like the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. The combat here is way less traditional hack and slash, and much more like a complex, deadly pirouette. You have to absolutely master the precise rhythm of her sweeping, fiery blades. It's this intricate back and forth dance where you're constantly watching your stamina, timing your dodge rolls to the absolute split second, and just praying for that perfect window to strike. But what happens when the game decides to just break its own rules? Sometimes you're confronted with a massive, seemingly invincible enemy, like an ancient wyvern. And I'll tell you right now, if you just run up and try to hack at its ankles like a normal boss, you're gonna get roasted alive. Instead of a traditional fight, this whole encounter turns into this frantic environmental puzzle.
You have to literally run for your life past a whole army of snake men, scramble up the ancient architecture, and just wait for the exact right moment to drop down. It culminates in a plunging attack directly onto the wyvern's head, which honestly is one of the most satisfying instant kill cinematic attacks in all of gaming. Let's move into Section 4, the first flame. As we approach the climax of this explainer, we really have to look at the ultimate destination of your grueling journey. To reach the very end, you have to offer the powerful Lord Souls to the Lord Vessel, which grants you access to the Kiln of the First Flame. This incredibly melancholic arena is built around the exact cave where the first flame was originally found at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Except now, it's just a vast, desolate landscape completely blanketed in gray ash. It is so atmospheric. And waiting for you there is the final challenge, the Soul of Cinder. The sheer genius of this boss design is that the Soul of Cinder isn't just some monster. It's a literal amalgam of every single lord and every single player who has ever linked the flame before you. It seamlessly swaps fighting styles mid-battle. 1 minute it's a sorcerer, then a spear-wielding cleric, then a pyromancer, and finally it adopts the exact moveset of Lord Gwyn himself. It's literally a reflection of you. Then, after you finally defeat this ultimate avatar, the narrative just leaves you with an incredibly heavy choice. You can link the flame, essentially sacrificing your own soul to artificially preserve the dying Age of Fire just a little bit longer, or you can just walk away, let the flame fade entirely, and usher in the mysterious Age of Dark. After all that suffering you just went through, it really makes you question if preserving a broken, decaying world is even worth the cost. Wrapping things up with Section 5, a punishing, rewarding legacy. Let's look at how this unapologetically difficult experience actually impacted the real world. Dark Souls originally launched on the PS3 and Xbox 360 back in 2011, but PC gamers wanted in on the punishment so badly that they started an online petition that gathered nearly 100,000 signatures. This massive fan campaign literally willed the Prepare to Die PC port into existence in 2012. I mean, if that doesn't prove the community's absolute ravenous dedication, I don't know what does. By April 2013, this incredibly niche, unforgiving dark fantasy game had completely defied all industry logic. It sold 2.37 million copies worldwide. To put that into perspective, it proved to the entire industry that gamers weren't just looking for hand-holding tutorials and easy victories. We actually craved genuine challenge. It cemented Dark Souls not just as a cult classic, but as a full-blown mainstream phenomenon. So what should you really take away from this explainer? Well, I think it's perfectly summarized by this reviewer's quote. Dark Souls doesn't just teach you how to parry a sword or dodge a fireball. It fundamentally teaches you how to persevere through failure. It completely recalibrates how you view obstacles. And I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If a digital world absolutely guarantees that you will fail over and over again, what does it say about human nature that millions of us love it so much? I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity today, not just to go out and try the game, but maybe to embrace the daunting, seemingly impossible challenges in your own life.